Yeah. So we're going to start immediately. Hi everyone. I'm waiting for Glory to join so that we can kick off immediately. Today we're having the Mandela Washington Fellowship application review. We've had questions 1, 2, and 3. Today is for question 4, 5, and 6. I want to quickly add Lori so that we start immediately.
Ta-da!
Welcome. Hi, hi.
Hi,
You're
hi.
looking
Thank
so
you.
pretty,
Oh, you too. Thank you. After so many tryouts.
my dear. That's the
How you
journey of
doing?
life. I'm
Yes.
fine.
You keep
Tell us
trying.
what, yeah. Oh, yeah, tell us what interesting thing happened to you today.
You mean to me? Wow, interesting thing
Yes.
in my day. I have to think. Why not start with yourself and so that I can think of my answer? Let's start with you.
Okay, I
Um,
think I'm settling, you know, I'm settling. At first, it was a bit difficult because, like I shared with you, the place we paid for was not available when we got here. So we moved to a secondary apartment and I can't cook there. So we moved to another secondary apartment because there's heat there, like gas, I can cook. But it's still
yeah.
like a temporary place. But finally, we have moved into our own location. And it just made me realize, something I've been taking for granted, your own
Exactly.
space, a
Mhm.
space you can call yours. Because all the while it felt like I was a refugee.
Wow.
That state of not being settled. My master's research was about refugees, but I didn't really, really understand this until just this short, period of being unsettled made me realize a space you call your own. There's a
Yeah.
kind of peace
That it
that it
brings.
gives. Yeah.
I
So,
fully
so
agree with you.
yeah, Glory, can you shift back a little so that we can see your
Okay.
fine hair? Yes.
Is it
Good.
better now?
Because yes, it's better.
Okay.
So, good evening, everyone. You are welcome to today's session. Today is actually the final part of the Mandela Washington Fellowship review. So what I've been doing on this page is we're taking the questions and reviewing them. We had a session with Innocent from Cote d'Ivoire, and today we have the amazing Glory. Glory is an entrepreneur par excellence, and Glory is brilliant. Like that, I got my
Wow.
Mandela Washington Fellowship. Glory played a huge role in that because she reviewed my essay and she was very thorough. So it's a pleasure to have someone like that today. So welcome, Glory Ogwe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm also trying to share this live video on my page. I'm using my laptop to do that. But thank you. Thank you
Okay,
for all the kind words. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to put this together for young people. You are really a very passionate person. You want young people to do well, and I really admire that about you. You're not in the same time zone, but you've been working hard back to back, to make sure that people feel the application. So that's a good one. I hope that your followers and the people that look up to you will really appreciate this nice thing that you're doing. So well done to you. And I'm happy to be back here once again talking about one of my favorite discussions. I know myself and you had this talk about 1 year ago, around
Yeah.
assessing international opportunities. That's like one of the first live videos you did in the early days, right? I'm happy to
Yeah.
see that you're doing more now, and that we're even now doing the Mandela Fellowship, on which both of us have benefited from. So well done, well done.
Yeah.
Over to you. It looks like
Okay.
I lost you
Was
for
I
a
off for
second.
something?
Yes, you
Okay.
were.
Okay, I think if I'm checking something in my phone, it will
Yes,
just
you were
go off.
off for some time.
So today is going to be really, really short. We just want to do this in 30 minutes maximum. So we're going to just hit right. So let me just read Glory's profile. Glory is a development practitioner in the fields of renewable energy and climate change for economic growth and development. She's the founder of Glow Initiative for Economic Empowerment, whose environmental arm, Climate Smart Nigeria, is promoting climate change education in Nigerian institutions and building capacity on renewable energy technologies. She is the founder of Renewable Energy Technology Training Institute, RECTI, and recently, the RECTI Virtual University, which trains and empowers the next generation of efficient installers and entrepreneurs through essay access and affordable renewable energy education to serve as competent workforce pool for the fast growing renewable energy industry and establish own businesses to provide solutions to energy problems in their communities. Glory, who has published 5 books to promote the knowledge of climate change and renewable energy, is the recipient of several awards, which include being named the Nigerian Star by the US Mission 2019, the Young Energy Professional of the Year Award by Nigerian Energy Awards 2018, and the Global Lights of Women Awards for the Outstanding Female Energy Leaders 2020. I told you Glory is a very powerful person. So thank you so much. Glory, do you want to we already talked about the Mandela Washington Fellowship. For those who are just joining us, last time we talked briefly about it. Glory, do you want to just say a few words about it while we dive into question 4, 5, and 6? Please, while Glory is doing that, as you join in, please share on your timeline. Like, Glory, you can even share this too so that your audience can
I've already
watch.
done so. I've already
Oh,
shared it.
great. Good. So please share on your timeline so that your friends can join in this wonderful life-changing experience. So, yeah.
Yes, thank you once again, Chibuzo. Hello, everyone. Good evening. For some of the people who came through my page, I know that I wrote something very short around how the Mandela Washington Fellowship altered my life. It's really, I give a lot of credit to this program for how my career has turned out, for how my nonprofit activities have turned out. So it's really a program that invests into young people who have demonstrated leadership. So how have you seen a problem and solved it? And so if you can demonstrate that you are a problem solver and you are a person who takes initiative to get results, then the program is for you. The American government is looking to invest into young people like that who have the potential to lead initiatives, to become global leaders later. So they give you all of these resources. You go to the US, you participate in a very rare leadership training for a period of 6 weeks. You also get the chance to work for a period of another 2 months in a US organization. All of this is geared to build you up, to empower you for your career so that you can have a life-changing impact back in your home country. So it's an opportunity not to miss. Thank you.
Great. Great. I just wanted to add, as Glory just mentioned, that there are also different arms of the fellowship. So we also have as you join in, if you have questions, just type them. We have a practicum. Practicum is basically where you get to work, even when you come back home. I did that. You get to work in an actual organization because you want to learn 1 or 2 things from them, and you get paid by the Mandela Washington Fellowship. You also get speaker travel grants. You get even when you come back to the US, you can attend a conference and they will pay for your flight. I mean, I went to South Africa and they paid for that. So there are different, you also have like the collaborative grant, where if there's somebody you met in the US that you would like to partner with, they can fund the person's flights to join you. So it's a complete package.
It's a
So
complete package. Thank you
yeah,
for mentioning that. Thank you for sharing all that. You have the US internship and you have the African one. I also did the African one. In fact, I've benefited from all the Mandela Fellowship programs, including the exchange grants one. The whole idea is to support that entrepreneur, to support that nonprofit leader, to do your work well. So you have to package yourself well. And even if when you go to the US, if you're not clear about what you're doing, you're just going to misuse the opportunity. So it's a very good program that came right at the right time for African youths.
yeah. Okay, great. So let's now dive into reviewing the questions. Like we said, there are 3 tracks: civic leadership for those who are in the non-profit sector, business and entrepreneurship for those who run businesses. You also have public management. It's for those perhaps in the public space, work with government, civil servants. So whichever way you find yourself, there is you can apply for any of these 3 tracks, right? And tailor your questions in line with the tract that you chose. So question 4, the Mandela Fellowship values diversity, equity, and inclusion, and strives to reach diverse audiences through all programming. Provide a specific example of how you have committed yourself to these values in your professional and personal life. So Glory, you can respond to that. How would you answer that question if you were, applying?
Very, very interesting question. The question on diversity and inclusion. And I hope some people on the comments or who are watching are already applying for the program. If you're already doing so, then that is really good. Actually, I lost my point. I lost what I wanted to say there. So, diversity and inclusivity. How are you including people that are minority groups into your work, right? So, the U.S. government and the initiatives usually like to support diverse groups, right? As we all know, the American government was built up by lots of diversity, people from different countries. You see Indian American, Black American, Asian American, right? And so how is your work helping to build minority groups? Are you working with people with disabilities? Then you have to highlight that during when you're answering this question, right? Are you working with women? And then if you're working with women, are you working with some types of women? Is it women that are teenagers? Is it single mothers? Is it widows? During my time, the project that I used in applying for this fellowship was a work that I did with widows, right? And so I dealt with widows that were middle-aged, and some of them were older. And so that's kind of like an example of diversity. How are you working with different kinds of people? You have to highlight that in your project. For instance, if you're working in a school, you have a program for schools. Have you specifically developed your program so that it's accessible to people that are blind, right? Now that's an example of how you can be diverse. Do you have those tools to support other people with disability? If you built a learning center for children, did you make it accessible to people that are using wheelchair? That's an example. Another example is, are you working with youth groups? You have to demonstrate in your answer how you bring several groups together, right? Maybe you're working in a community or in a place where they don't speak your language. Maybe you speak Igbo and they speak Yoruba. How are you able to work with those groups? And so during my time as well, I remember I worked in a community that was different from mine and I didn't speak their language. I was able to work with them by finding a translator and by learning some of the languages, little by little. That way, I proved to the Mandela Fellowship Review team that I am able to deal with diverse groups, right? So they want to find out what can happen if you meet opportunities in the US, or you go for an internship in the US, or you're posted to somewhere in Africa for your practicum, and you have to deal with diverse groups, people from different tribes, people that don't speak your language, and women or people with disability or people of a different religion. How are you able to mix with these people as a leader? Now, that is what you must point out when you're answering your question. Even if there's no way that you're doing that in your work, you have to think of a way. You have to think of a way to include that. You have to think of a way to show that you're working with young women of specific group, or people with disabilities, or people from another country. How is your work impacting people from other countries? Are you able to be Pan-African? This is not compulsory, but I'm just giving you different examples to see how you can tackle that question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Glory. Glory just highlighted, you talk about how your work is inclusive, basically, because the question is provide a specific example of how you have committed yourself to these values in your professional. Now, that's basically what Glory said. You have to show an example. Your example is basically a story you are telling. Like we said in the first part of the application, storytelling is powerful. They want you to write this essay from your heart. They do not want you to write it from a place of, you're trying to no, write it as raw as it can be. And they also want to demonstrate that you're a leader. Remember, we talked about leader not being an authority, but leader as somebody who is serving, right? So Glory just answered that question beautifully by saying, show how you have been inclusive. So as if you're working, for example, in Haskell, like the way an organization where I work, right? Haskell Water Aid and Economic Foundation. When we sink boreholes, we make sure that the boreholes are accessible, right? We can have like a part of the borehole where somebody with a wheelchair can use. That's one. We also come up with committees. The committees, those who would maintain. I'm trying to give an example for those who are thinking, so which example? We come up with committees. Those committees will ensure that we have women there. You have young people there, right? You have representatives of different groups in the community, as well as even the minority groups that will be overlooked. We have them in those committees so that they can have a say as to how the borehole will be maintained and all. So this is how you explain these things. Do you understand? Simple things, but that demonstrate that you understand that everybody is operating from different levels. So thank you so much, Glory. If you have questions, don't forget to type it in the in the comment section so that we take them. Thank you so much, Sani Emmanuel. You are a very good friend. Look at the way you're just mentioning your friends so that they join this video. I mean, that's beautiful. This life is always good. If Glory sees an opportunity that will benefit me, she's definitely going to share it with me. The same thing with me. So it's good that you build a community of friends that are upward mobile, right? You build a community of friends that are interested in personal development. That's where you build a healthy circle. So let's continue.
Correct.
Question 5. Yeah, question 5 is, Nelson Mandela said, "Do not judge me by my successes." Do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by, who is this person sending me a message that I'm live? Do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back again. Strong leaders are able to effectively handle challenges. The COVID-19 global health pandemic has posed significant challenges, both globally and locally. Describe a specific instance when the pandemic or the repercussions posed a problem that helped you grow as a leader. What did you do? And how are you applying lessons learned from this experience in your current work? We said some questions are pregnant, right? They are pregnant, like you see question A, it has A, B, and C. You don't just summarize the idea of that question and answer. So I'll leave Glory to do justice to that, and then I contribute. So Glory, tell us, how would you answer the question?
Of course, thank you very much. And I like what you said now that the questions are pregnant. I also tell this to the people that review the applications, that it's very important to answer them one after the other like that, to break them down. So you break down the question, right? Ask yourself the first question, then go over to the second one, go over to the third one. I'm not really seeing the question now. We would have done it like that. But overall, this question is trying to find out how you dealt with a problem that challenged you in your work. You have to give actual examples of what you did during the time that there was a problem. Now, all of us had challenges when the pandemic first struck us. Some of us who did physical programs could no longer do our physical programs. I work at Red Sea, where we did physical trainings. All of a sudden, we could no longer do physical trainings. So when all of these things are happening, there's all of this transition to tech, to Zoom meetings. How did you handle all of that? Now, this question expects you to tell an actual story. In this question, you are expected to explain a scenario that happened during the pandemic and how you surmounted it. Now, many people might not have a scenario, but you have to think of one. You have to think of something you would say. So think about in your workplace, maybe what specific thing did the pandemic affect in your work? If you were working with teenagers, if you were working with widows and you used to give them food, what is the thing that happened that disrupted that? So you used to buy the food somewhere from a supplier. The supplier cannot get the food anymore because the farmers are no longer producing the food because there's a lockdown. Now, that whole thing affects the entire cycle. How did you deal with that? How did you, as a leader, go about finding food for those widows? Do you understand? So, in other words, how did you do something to deal with the pandemic? Like, how did you try to do something differently? How did you try to be innovative to deal with that issue? And in the process of doing that, if conflicts arose, how did you try to sort out that conflict? Now, for the conflict part, they are trying to learn. You see, there's a lot of questions here, like Chibuza said. There are a lot of different questions here. There's a question on team leadership. When there is a conflict, what did you do as the leader of your team? Now, I know we're all young leaders, and I know Chibuzo can confirm that when you're leading people, when you're serving people, sometimes it can get so overwhelming. Many times you're tired. Many times you feel like crying. Many times the things you expect to be done is not done. You're asking your mentors, what do I do? How do I handle this kind of employee? What do I do to this kind of person? Now, as a leader, you have to put up a very good front. But how did you do that? Now, you must tell the story here, right? Have you noticed that there are two stories you need to tell here? One is about what you did during the pandemic. How did you do your work differently? Second one is when there was a conflict, what did you do in the conflict?
No.
And what I think is very interesting.
No, Glory.
Yes.
Maybe you are mixing it up. It says this. Should I post the question in the comments?
No, just read that for me. Sorry.
Okay, the question is, the question is that, okay, let me just go straight to the question. The COVID-19 pandemic has posed, no, Nelson Mandela said, do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again. Strong leaders are able to effectively handle challenges. The conflict question is number 6, it's not this one. The COVID-19 global pandemic has posed significant challenges, both globally and locally. Describe a specific instance when the pandemic or its repercussions posed a problem that helped you grow as a leader. 1, 2, what did you do? 2, 3, and how are you applying those lessons learned from the experience in your current work?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for correcting me. I was thinking it was the last question, which was the pandemic.
No, it's not the last one.
Yeah.
No, this one is the pandemic one. The last question is about conflict and Nelson Mandela. Maybe I should post it in the comment section. Yeah.
Yes, I'm mixing things up. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me post it in the comment. This one is about the pandemic and how you can check the comment now. I just posted this question 5, just in case. Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm trying to check now. Okay. Thank you for correcting that, please. Wow. So the main I didn't see it in your comment. I asked how to bring out comments. You know, you're techie more than me.
Okay, swipe like this.
Okay, I've seen it. Thank you.
So basically, yes. Or maybe while you are assimilating, let me just quickly, maybe while you are trying to wrap up your thought around how to answer it, let me just quickly give what I think about that, right? Yeah. So basically, Question 5 is asking, so like Glory started by saying, how did you, they want to see how innovative you are, right? By asking, okay, the pandemic has come. You know how in Igbo we say, so yes, the pandemic just came and took everybody by surprise. What did you do differently? You know, they want to see. So you start by describe a specific instance where the pandemic or its repercussions posed a problem that helped you grow as a leader. First, during the pandemic, most shops were closed. Let's assume you have a shop and you have workers, right? During the pandemic, most shops were closed and, you know, people were in a lockdown. That can be your problem, right? And because of that, there was low sales. You had workers, you had to pay salaries, you had to do many things, you know, right? So what did you do? You can say, okay, you had like you created an app or a website where people could order your product online, right? And then you invested more in social media marketing. I'm just basically trying to give you ideas, right? You invested more in social media marketing and got a delivery person to help you deliver door to door to reduce physical contact and all that. And, you know, how are you applying those lessons learned from the experience in your current work? So basically, you've already told them your current work, you're an entrepreneur, you run a business that is doing this, blah, blah, blah. So how are you applying it? This thing is 150 words, so you can't go beyond that. You basically just tell them, okay, now you've learned, yes. So now you've learned, yes. You've learned at every point in time to call your team and strategize on what's the new thing to do. And basically, it was your team members that came up with some of these suggestions that helped your business stay afloat during the pandemic. Now they've seen that truly you are somebody that discusses with your team. You are not Ezeonyankwanam. You're not the only person. You don't listen. You listen to people, right? You want to talk more about innovation. You've seen that, you know, even without people coming to your shop physically, you can still make business. You can still make sales. You can even tell them that you even realize that you made more sales. So basically, that kind of thing is what they want you to say. So Glory, if there's anything I did not forgot to add, maybe you can add that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing me back from talking about the last question. I think I was talking more about the conflicts question. Thank you. No, nothing much. What did you do to handle that issue that was posed upon you as during the pandemic? So I'll share a quick story, right? I run a training institute, so we could not hold physical trainings anymore. And so we were forced to create online courses. Now, this is what I would answer during the time that I'm answering this question. I'll say, oh, the pandemic, there were no physical engagements during the pandemic. And so we moved all of our activities online. So I created an online school, an online university, an online platform where people could go and take the same programs, right? And so during the time you were doing maybe you had a business that shops for people. What did you do? Like Chibuzo said, you created an app to start doing that same thing that you were doing physically before. Now that is demonstrating leadership capabilities. So you have to tell a story of a scenario how you did something. It's not a must that you did something that was tech related, right? But how did you do something differently though, right? So if you were doing coaching sessions and mentorship programs before, did you now start doing it live? I know that Chibuzo did a lot of live events during that time. She wasn't doing that before. I mean, she was the person who brought me it was because of her I did a live show for the first time in my life, right? But all of that were new to us, to both of us. Yes, it was because of her I tried out that button, go live. It was new to me, it was new to her, but because she wanted to connect more with people. And that was when she started it as well, because of the pandemic. So it was the pandemic that made her begin to do coaching sections during with live Facebook. Now that's such a strong answer to give to this kind of question. How did you start doing that you were doing physically? So she moved hers online via live shows, right? And so in live shows, you do not have to worry about rent or breakfast or lunch, right? So that's what you did. How are you, please can you remind me the second question? How are you applying the knowledge?
How are you applying lessons learned from this experience to your current work?
Exactly, right? Like now everybody can see that we can all work from home, isn't it? I have two staffs who work from home currently. They don't show up at the office at all. In fact, one of them is in a different state. He doesn't even live in Lagos, right? So now I figured out that wow, people can actually be effective virtually. And so we started to enhance that. We started to enable that because people were able to do their work without being physical. That is what that experience taught you. So for you, for instance, what did that experience teach you? How are you going to be able to apply it in other programs you're doing or other initiatives you're going to run? Now, when you answer questions like this, you show the reviewer that you are somebody that is investable. If we put money into this person to bring them to the US for the fellowship, meanwhile, I don't know if it's going to be, the last one was virtual, but I hope that this one will be physical, right? So they'll say, if we invest in you to bring you to the US, how will you apply some of these things that you've learned? Remember that they asked a question on diversity first. This is all about the diversity. How do you bring the knowledge you have from Nigeria whilst trying to deal with the pandemic? How do you bring that over here? How can people learn these best practices from you? Guys, you need to take note of these things and write them down. Best practices, lessons I learned from the pandemic, write them down so that you can expatiate on them. If you did something else during the pandemic, maybe you used that experience to volunteer for an organization, to volunteer to manage something virtually for them, you can share that as well here. Volunteering opportunities are always a good one to share when applying for this fellowship, right? And there's a third question. Please, can you remind me the third question? Check.
I think you already answered the question. Yeah, you already answered the three of them. So let's go to the last question. Yeah, the last question is, Nelson Mandela was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for working with leaders of the South African government to agree on a peaceful transition to multi-party rule and an end to apartheid. Explain a situation where you have worked with people from different backgrounds, identities or perspectives, and how to use your leadership skills to resolve a conflict or disagreement. What actions did you take? And how did you encourage respectful discussion? Yeah.
Interesting question. This can be a trick question, right? And so basically,
because it's similar to the number 4.
Yes, it's very similar. That's why I exchanged it that time, right? Now, This question is trying to find out what kind of, if you are a leader that is a good team player, right? Now, and I think I started also responding to that the last time. Working with people is not easy. And this question wants to find out how well you work with people, how well you coordinate activities. And of course, like I started to say, problems come all the time if you're working with people. That you will come up with issues that challenge your very person as the leader of that team. You wouldn't know what to do about it. You're going to speak to your mentors, looking for how to handle maybe that particular person or the issue or situation. What did you do about it? Let me share an example with you. Just a long time ago, I was in a group where I was leading a team, and the team we're not doing their work well, and I was really so frustrated at the time. And I thought that it was important to be firm, right? And so I spoke my mind the way my mind was. Now, that's not a very smart thing to do as a leader, right? I spoke my mind. My mind that I spoke, I just expressed to the people that I wanted them to sit up, right? I wanted everybody to do their work in the team so that everything can go on well. So, but then it was, my anger and frustration, the thing was misinterpreted. Now, that is where you as a leader can be the difference. What will you do in that kind of situation? People are not doing their work well. This person is blaming this person. This one is blaming this person. You have to explain how you are able to handle such a situation with wisdom. Did you decide to call up everybody and buy them gifts instead? Did you decide to just send everybody private messages, I am proud of you, during that time that they were arguing and not doing their work well? Now, there's something called reverse psychology, right? Did you try to use it on your team and just automatically you see them begin to do that things well without you telling them because of how you have acted as a leader? Guys, it's very, very important. I don't want to deviate from the question, but that's how you can manage a team. By not giving into that way that you feel, by doing it, in fact, just the opposite, and automatically the issue will resolve itself. The question wants to know how good of a team you play. Do you seek to take a lot of the glory for yourself? Do you like taking the glory for yourself, even though we all know you're the one that did it too? In fact, we all know that most times it is you who pushed that button, and then some of your team members just did small things and then the thing worked. Do you quickly say, wow, I did it? You know, do you take the glory for yourself, or do you push the praise to your team members? So when there is a conflict and clearly it is not your fault or some other person caused it, how did you resolve it? Did you start to defend yourself? Because of course it's not your fault now. Did you start to defend yourself? What did you do about that? So you guys have to think of steps that you took. You can say that, oh, you called for a meeting to resolve that a conflict, or you looked for a middle point to what was causing the issue, finding that middle ground and just letting things solve itself. But you have to think of a time, guys, where you face an actual conflict. Let me tell you one thing I do when I don't know the answer to the question, right? I try to think of another scenario that looks like it, that is similar, and I use the lessons for it. Do you understand? So maybe if I hadn't had any conflict with my team, maybe I've not resolved the conflict, so I don't know what to answer there. I look for another scenario where I had a conflict, right? And I relate the questions and pretend as if it happened in my organization. Then you can have your answer. That's just a small hack, of what you can do in applications. So I'm sure
Yes.
people have something to add.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Glory. I mean, you said everything. I just want to just summarize your thoughts on that issue. These questions, you see, the difference between question 4 and question 6 is, for question 4, they want to see, it's not really, you don't have to give an example that is about conflict. Question 4 is provide an example where you have committed yourself to these values, the values of understanding that people are from diverse background, right?
Yeah.
Respecting them. And like Glory said, you take cognizance of like people living with disabilities and, working with women and vulnerable people, right? That you understand that they are different and respect them. That is question 4. For question 6, conflict. Conflict is the main thing here. Conflict is the main thing here. So you also want to, for example, if I was a business person, I can give an example of, let's say, when I work, because I've reviewed one application, right, that was successful. And the answer was about the person was a business person and was working in an organization where everybody wanted to quit because they were not well paid and the management was overstressing them. So that's the situation. I've explained the situation now. What actions did you take? You see this question now, I've explained it now. I was working in an organization where, blah, 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 and the staff wanted to quit. The management too was being too harsh. Now, I've answered, basically I've described it. What actions did you take? Now, realizing that them leaving would lead to the destruction of the organization and even the staff not having jobs for a long time because of the low unemployment rates in Nigeria. I approached the management when I felt they were in a good mood. So I noticed that my boss just came back from honeymoon, and I approached him to tell him that I would like to discuss something that I think would lead to the growth of the organization. This is what is happening. This is what is happening. I would be grateful if you can use your good heart. Basically, to tell them that you had a kind conversation with your boss. Now, this is what you did, right? And then you were able to organize a meeting where the staff met face-to-face with the boss. And they both agreed on an increment in salary and better work conditions. Now, this is basically the actions that you took. Now, the question is, how did you encourage respectful discussion? Basically, this is number 3. This is 150 words. So you see, you have to make sure you answer these 3 questions, one sentence or the other, but relating to the questions. How did you encourage respectful discussion? I encouraged this by approaching them when I felt they were in a good mood, right? And putting a rule that nobody should use foul language during the conversation, regardless of who is talking. My approach of telling them to just be tolerant helped to reduce the tensions between the staff and, that kind of. So this is just an example This is an example. Yeah. So I think we've
Yeah.
already
And
spoke for too
I want to
long.
add one quick thing. They also want to see what leadership skills you can exhibit during this time of conflict,
Yeah.
right? And if it's your team that is having the issue, a good leadership skill. So one thing I do in application, you have to go and research leadership skills, right? With or you can write down your own leadership skills, and then you try to fit it into the conflicts. One is listening, your listening ability, your ability to listen to each party and understand what the problem is, right? And so you can say, how did you encourage respectful decision? It can be that, oh, you listen carefully for everyone to explain themselves without the
Yeah.
temptation of siding one party or the other. You know, there's always the issue of wanting to side one person. So a way to encourage respectful decision could be, oh, you listened in this way and you gave advice, and when trying to resolve the problem, you gave advice that was, that was neutral, that was not, siding one person or the other. So that's just
Yeah.
another extra thing I wanted to add.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So let's now wrap into the questions. So if you have questions, this is the time to get them. I think I saw somebody's question. The person asked if you are in yearly, I think RLC, does that increase your chance of getting the Mandela Washington Fellowship? I think it doesn't. I think it doesn't. The only thing that it does is that you have written a similar essay and you are successful at it. So it means that you have what it takes to
To
write.
be able to try this one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. You have what it takes to put in a successful application. For the fact that you made RLC means you are doing a good job already, and that you also have good writing skills. So you just want to up your game and apply for this. If you have
Yeah, and
questions, please, yeah,
I
go
wanted to
ahead.
add quickly. I wanted to add that the program is actually merit based. That's one of the things I found so attractive when I applied for this as an NYC copper, and I got in just as I was ending my NYC. So I didn't even have a lot of big experiences here and there. I just started a small initiative I was doing as a copper. Do you understand that? So it's merit based. Merit based means that you just have some good things that you talk about your work and have some demonstrated capacity to lead, to be a leader, and you will get in. So if you were an RLC person before, like she said, it won't make them choose you, but it means that you can stand a good chance because you've been through that process before. You went for an actual interview and got selected. So it means that you have what it takes to apply.
Great,
Thank
great,
you.
great, 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 great. So if you have more questions, you can ask your questions. Please don't forget to share this question. Somebody is asking, Gloria, can you see that question?
No.
Okay, let's
Let me
see.
check.
Can you see it? Nagbe is asking a question.
We are wrapping up now. Okay, are we to write the essays questions in the third person, please, in all the writings? So, no, I don't think that there is a specific instruction to do that. On a normal day, normally I like to write my stuff in the third person, but you find that does not apply in all the questions, right? There are some questions you have to speak about what you did. I encourage this, and in fact, like the last question we discussed, no, you have to write in the first person. I did this. I went and spoke to the manager so that the issue is resolved. In fact, I advise you not to, especially except if they specifically ask you to write in the third person. During the time I applied for the fellowship, we were specifically asked to write our profile in the third person. So that was the only place I wrote my profile in the third person. But all the other questions, there wasn't any instruction. And if there is no instruction, then you have to write in the first person because it's the first person, like you are the first person, so you have to write like that.
Yes. Yes. So Nagbe, just to add to what Glory said, kindly follow the instruction. If they want you to write it in third person, they will tell you. If they want you to write it in first person, they will tell you. But these questions that we reviewed, they said provide and how did you, when did you,
Exactly.
what did you learn? So if someone is asking you what you learned, you will not be saying she, they, you'll be saying I. Now, even though you're writing I, sometimes put we, like refer to your team. Do you get? Don't make it so many I. Sometimes put we, like together with my team.
That's
We,
a good point. Yeah.
yeah. So now it's better. Some, you want to show that you're a team player, that it's not
Yeah,
so much
and
about you.
that point is actually
Mm.
very important to say we sometimes. You don't want to look as if you are a loner. Even if you are a loner, even if you are just, of course, we were all loners when we all started out. Everyone started out on their own first. For many
Yeah.
years, we did this on our own. You understand? So, but sometimes you have to say we because they need to see that, okay, she's not just a loner. Nobody wants to be with a loner because maybe they think your work will not be sustainable, right? It's important to use that term we. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't think we have any questions. I'm not sure we have any more questions. Let me see if we have more questions. If you have questions, type them. Otherwise, I would like to just go ahead and say thank you so much to Glory for joining us. It's been a very insightful session. Thank you so much to you all that are applying for this fellowship. Please put in your best. I also want to add, if there's anything that they ask you to supply, don't say, oh, because it's not required, you don't want to do it. Because I think there are portions where you have to attach like reference letters or
Yeah.
something to strengthen your application, but they are optional. I advise that you apply. Like if somebody says supply reference or supply this and it's optional, or you know you can get very good reference letters, why don't you just go ahead and get them? Another thing I did too that I felt helped was I put like a compilation of all the works I have done that has been featured in magazines. I put them in like PDF. Do you understand? I put them in PDF, compiled it into one document and uploaded it. So there you have like a slot to upload up to 3 files. So I think I submitted one reference letter. Yeah, from then the professor, the director of African Studies, then I was doing my master. It mustn't be an academic referee. It could be someone in the professional space that knows you, a politician, basically someone that can put in a very strong word for you. Not like it really helps, but if they say submit, why don't you want to submit? Then secondly, I uploaded some newspaper reviews, some different things. I just compiled everything. They were like up to like 7 pages in PDF. I joined it into one page and uploaded it. Then the third one was basically awards, right? I took pictures of me taking awards, standing in stages, the community project I have done, with people, the crowd of people. I took pictures, put everything in Microsoft Word, explained them, right? And uploaded it as what? The third document. And it came out
Very, very
successful.
important. Yes. I'd
So,
like to add to that quickly. It's very important that's a very good point, guys. You see, anytime there is optional, I don't used to see it as optional. I feel it's mandatorily. Because it's an opportunity for you to showcase yourself more. These guys are asking you to use 150 words. It's so small. Like I was shouting when she said 150. With my time, I think it was 200, 250 words during our time, right? So you have to take every opportunity to showcase yourself. So nothing is optional, right? If you don't have something to say, look for something to say. Think about the time you volunteered. Think of something you did then when you volunteered. Think about a commendation
yeah.
somebody gave you that your boss told you, wow, well done, and he commended you. That's an accolade.
Yeah.
Put it there. I also like what she said about compiling all your materials. I do that as well. In fact, go and look for your videos of where you were receiving our work. If it was not announced on the YouTube, create your own YouTube page and put it so you can have a link. Put all of the link. And by now, as young leaders, please, it's very important to compile all of the things you've done. Even if it's not an award or accolade, but it's something you've done that will have a positive impact, write it on your blog. Go and start a blog so that you can have a link, a reference. Go and start a blog, a medium, so that you can compile your stories. That's what I do. Yeah, so you compile your stories on your own blog
Brilliant.
and put the links. Yes. When you put the
This
links
is
there,
brilliant.
they can go and read it. Exactly. And then you have all of these things you've done in that one page and you attach it. I also did the same thing for awards. So guys, please use any little opportunity to showcase yourself. Don't think you have no award, because I've had people, I've reviewed applications where people said, but we don't have any awards. Okay, but then you do have commendations. You do have things that your boss has told you. Well done on how you led this team. You did a good job. Well done. You led this team well. That's a commendation. So you have to give it a name.
Yeah.
Give that commendation a name and write it. Your boss commended you for being very this, that, this, that. Honestly, try to find a way to, you see, when I review people's application, I tell them, they think that they have nothing. So by the time I read the application, I say, wow, but there's a lot of things you have here. It's about how you
Yes.
articulate them. Yes, it's about how you wrote it out. I always tell this story where we had one guy who worked at Jam. He worked at Jam. I think I've told you that story before, Chibuzo. He worked at Jam as an examiner. Now, it sounds like a small thing, isn't it? But by the time you read his profile, you think maybe he's a supervisor at United Nations. By the time you read the way he wrote it, he did not use the word Jam. He didn't use the word Jam. So please learn how to tell your story like that. Bring out yourself in a more positive light. Learn how to, paint yourself really well. Write good things about yourself. So you may think that that small commendation your boss told you is small, but it means well done. Maybe you led a team and you guys finished the project. Even if your boss didn't tell you well done, that's an accolade. You did something that was successful. You led a team and you delivered the project. You have to write that down as an accolade. Do you understand? So the point here is nothing is too small. Throughout yourself, project your stories. Yeah, so I will advise all of you here after the call, make a list. That's what I also tell people. Make a list, number 1, number 2, number 3, of all the places where you were commended, where you volunteered and you got a small certificate, something that looked like a certificate, but it's not an award though. It is an award, it's a recognition. You have to feature it inside your application. Find a way to include it. All of these things goes a long way. Like Chibuzo said, ever miss an opportunity to leave something optional? No, I don't leave that space at all. You have to utilize it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Glory. What Glory said is just, Glory is like my soul sister. If you go back to the first review that we had, we talked about before you start, reflect on your journey as a person. I don't want to repeat myself so that we don't make this video long. But if you have not watched that video, go back and watch the parts A of it, right? I just want to recap the tips of having a good application. Tell stories, beautiful stories, stories that have heart, right from your heart. Describe the problem and the dangers of that problem, so that they know that they don't select for this person is doing a very important work. Describe it. Just imagine that the person doesn't know it exactly. Describe it. Now you are writing a fellowship that even though it's Pan-African, but you also want to explain it in, like, if you are saying JAMB now, they may not really know what is JAMB because JAMB is just Nigerian. So now you're writing for an international audience. You want to talk about these things in a way that they can understand. If you cannot be saying NYSC, you want to say the National Youth Service Corps,
and explain
it is like a mandatory. Yes, you want to explain it's a mandatory national service. It's a mandatory program for Nigerian graduates. So when you are writing for an international audience, now you just have to make sure that that thing that you are thinking, is a Nigerian slogan that they can understand it as much as you can explain it, right?
Exactly.
You also want to talk about your solution, the solution you are bringing. You also want to talk about where you see yourself in 5 years' time. Please dream big, but ensure that that thing you are seeing yourself in 5 years' time is linked with what you are doing somehow. Even if it is like steps away, but it's connected. You cannot be working in the youth space and say in 5 years' time is elderly people. What's the connection? There has to be a connection, right? How it links to the SDGs, very importantly. Somehow in your essay, especially where you see those 250 words, and you finish writing up to 200 words, for example, you're thinking, what do you link now? What do you add to this thing? I usually say, exhaust the words you have. I'm not saying write off points, but if you have more things to say, if you have more things to say to express yourself, make the best out of it. So go and look at the SDGs. Find out at least 2. If one is perfect, I usually recommend 1. For some people are really versatile, for someone like me, right? So at least 2. Don't do more than 2, right? Link your work very, very well to those SDGs when you're writing. Because what you're doing is that you're showing that what you are doing is local but globally relevant, right? What do you do if you're not selected for this fellowship? Even after watching all these videos, there are many opportunities. There are several of them. Just go and Google and make it a habit of every month you tell yourself, I want to apply for 2, 3, 4 or so applications. There's no how in a year, if you are faithful to yourself, there's no how in a year you will not get 1 or 2. And those 1 or 2 is all you need to change your life. That's the truth. Those 1 or 2 is all you need to change your life. So to end this, today is day 4 of our training. I have a course on how to apply for fellowships and grants. how to apply for scholarships for postgraduate studies abroad, how to use storytelling to raise funds for your business or NGO, and if you want to book a consulting session with me. So it's been going so well. If you want, I
Yeah,
think you should key into it because I may not have it again. So key into, people are really taking advantage of it to buy the fellowship, the grants, and the scholarship class. So please key into it to
I want to add one
and buy,
final thing
because
when you're
tomorrow is
done.
the last.
Sorry.
Yes, yeah, tomorrow is the last day for the promo, right? So we have like 40% discount. So key into the promo. Check the flyers on my timeline. Yeah. So Glory, you wanted to add something?
Yes, just one quick thing to say as you're filling your application. I don't know if you guys were asked this question. What do you want to do when you come back from the program? I think that question always comes, right? It's also important that when you're answering your essays, please don't say big things. We're mostly tempted to do that. Young leaders, we're tempted to say big things we want to do. We want to do this, we want to build a school, a women's center, build and equip a women's center. Be very specific, right? I know I did that mistake and I said all the big things I wanted to do, and I was corrected during my interview. You sounded vague, was what they told me. So it's very important to say something specific, just one thing. Don't be tempted to say many things. They will think that your goals are not smart, your goals are not reachable, and so they will not even engage you on it. They will just cancel you out. So say something that is very specific. And just to add to what Chibuza said about if you don't make it for the program, then build yourself up for the next 1 year. I tell that all my mentees and people that I'm working with. Build yourself up for the next 1 year. Prepare yourself for the fellowship the next year. So those things you've already learned in the process of applying, those things you didn't meet up, that volunteer, the award you didn't get that you applied for, give yourself 1 year and you may have gathered all of this information. There's no way you applied then that you wouldn't get it. Well done. Thanks
Yes.
again for having me.
Yeah, and there are several opportunities. You just aren't searching, or you just aren't looking in the right place, or you just aren't talking to the right people. That's the truth. I don't know. I was telling Gloria, have you noticed that it is the same people that win these fellowships, even in research? Okay, now I am doing my PhD here, right, in Kansas State University. One of my colleagues is a Mandela Fellow.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yes, my classmate is a Mandela Fellow. I went for a conference in the UK. I realized that some of the people I met there, I met them in Mozambique. You see, it's the same people and their friends winning them because they understand the science to read, the art to read, and they share it with people in their space. Okay, let me tell you something beautiful that happened today. I had a grant class earlier in the year. Mamoni and some other people came in. Today, she reached out to me. There's a lady who bought the grant class, and she had an opportunity to empower to give the 5 women grants from that lady's organization. And she reached out to me. Do you understand? You see how, if she doesn't know me, she wouldn't ask me. I don't know if you understand. It's like the same circle. So when she told me, I just shared it in the group of my mentees to tell them, so who is this person? Reach out to me. There's a slot to give 5 of your women grants. I don't know how much that is, but it's a lot. Do you understand? So it's just, so I don't know, just plug yourself, plug yourself. I mean, look at Jenny. Jenny is now in the US too on school scholarship with a very tight package.
And it's not even just Jenny. You actually have lots of people who have won these things. And you've been doing it without.
Sometimes when I read, when I read their offer letters. Yeah. Well, exactly what I've been doing, like without even charging.
You've been doing it since. Yes. So I mean, I just want to say to the hearing of people that are listening, Chibuza has been doing it for years without doing it for free, and these people have been getting progress. So it's just now she started charging for it, and she already has some feedback, some success stories. So if anybody, I mentioned you. I sent somebody your name. I mentioned you on the LinkedIn post. Yeah, somebody who was asking how to get scholarship. So I just mentioned your name. Just check your LinkedIn.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll check it out. So basically, the thing is, and investing in yourself. Like you see, Glory is so much into personal development. She has like fellowships she's running in the energy sector. If you follow her, you will see there's always one. I mean, that's amazing. Starting a fellowship program here. Glory doesn't sleep. Midnight, she's up in her laptop. When I went to her office the other day, her colleague was like, nobody is as busy as Glory. You know? So why am I telling you these things? Is just work hard, make sure you are with the right people, make sure you invest in knowledge. My final words, if you haven't bought my courses, I don't know what you're waiting for. Just go and get it. Like, this is the most affordable, and this might be the last batch I will have this year. For all of you searching for fellowships, grants, scholarships, just head to the link on the post on my timeline and you'll see. Please share this post, and I wish you all the best in your application. I can't wait to hear all your success stories. And all. If you get a Mandela fellowship, don't forget to reach out to us. We also have tips that
and
can help you.
And if you get interview tips as well, if you get interview, you can reach out to us for tips. Yeah.
Yes, please. Would gladly help you for free. You know, once you get a letter that you have been invited for the Mandela Fellowship interview stage at the embassy, just send us a message where we'll be willing to provide tips on how you can ace that interview and make it to Washington, like to travel to the US. And then if you won't still make it, don't forget to reach out so that we can give you tips how to make the best out of your fellowship year. All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon from here. So it's 12 p.m. now. I have to go for my lunch. Good afternoon, but I know it's night in Nigeria. Good night. Bye. Thank you so much, Glory. It's frozen. Bye, Glory. Thank you.